Hello and welcome to Card Shop Insiders, a podcast where we bring together decades of experience from both sides of the counter to take you inside the business of local game stores and collectible gaming hobbies. I'm Noah, and I play games, lots of them.
I'm John. I'm the store owner and a veteran of the industry.
Well, with our combined perspectives, we are ready to take you inside. So let's go ahead and jump in. John, how's it been going?
It's great. It's been good. You should tell me more about it than I should, because we had our store championship for Lorcana this weekend, which you participated in. How did it go?
I thought it went really good. We had 16 slots open for our store championship just based on size and the local play group. So we ran 16. We had everybody show up. We had a good group. We had a lot of different decks come out. I think everybody brought competitive material and had a lot of fun. I was happy to be able to play with my wife and my kids. So we had all four of us were participating and played well. I think everybody had fun, and ultimately we had a good group finish up the evening in top four and then wrap it up with the final match.
Yeah, I think it went very, very well. I was pleased with the turnout, and I was pleased to see more females getting involved in this game, where it's not a male-dominated game, with your two children and your wife playing, and actually Dizzy Lizzy came into play. It was fun. And except for a couple of the F-bombs that were thrown out the first round, I don't like that in the store. It's not appropriate when you have little kids around, or you have, your wife or Liz around. It's just not appropriate. So they stopped it. I didn't have to yell at them this time, but they stopped.
Yeah, I thought it was good. We had a lot of good play. People were really friendly. I think when we finished up, Brandon, who was playing with us, said that he was really impressed that everybody had a good attitude. There wasn't any problems with people getting really upset. We did have a couple people drop as the event got deeper and they weren't going to make the top cut, but that can be expected when the tournament goes as long as it did. I think we played 4 rounds of Swiss and then we had the top cut. So,
yeah, the overall finish was Brandon Santana came in first. You came in second, which is good. Then we had Rodney Young and Griffin Baker came in third and fourth, or fourth and third, whatever. The only problem I saw was this horrendous program that we have to use, a software called Melee. Melee is very, very detailed, exceptionally so, to the point where it gets ridiculous. There's too many parameters that you have to preset up and everything like that. It's more complex than I've ever used before. It's even more complex than the Wizard Event Reporter, and it seems like that's a kindergarten program to use compared to Melee. But I guess as I go along and start using Melee more, it's going to be easier to use.
I know I tapped in to help a little bit with the application itself, and I think it was different. I would call it different, not difficult. I think it's just got a lot of complexity. It's a well-designed program in the sense that it pretty much does anything you could want it to do. Once we understood the different options and the questions that we were needing to answer, I think we got the output that we needed. Yeah, I think it's an iteration thing. We need to use it some more and have experience with it, but I can definitely see why they want to use that for the bigger tournaments.
Well, Wizards specifically uses it for the bigger tournaments right now, because I think Wizards software is only capable of handling up to 400 entrants. With Melee, they can use it all the time for much bigger events. And that's what they've been using. I'm sure they're going to use it when they go down to Atlanta and to Chicago. And you have some updates on Chicago as far as attendance too, for the big event.
And what I saw, I think they sold out pretty fast as well, even with the increased attendance. So it's another big success. I expect the way that these tournaments have been filling up, it looks like organized play for Lorcana is going to be a very serious thing. And hopefully it keeps getting the support from the company.
Well, as far as the store championship was concerned, I think, and this is just a gut feeling, and they haven't announced it yet. Maybe maybe they have announced it and I just didn't pick up on it. Is there going to be a store championship for every set that comes out, like Wizards does it?
And that's what I understood it to be. They haven't announced the specific details for the set 4 yet, but my understanding was that with every set that comes out, they're going to do one of these. And hopefully there's a promo card like this for all of them. This promo was very desirable, and I think a lot of people are excited and happy with it.
I agree. Everybody was very pleased with the way, the support went. And I particularly gave out first chapter packs. We had a restock last week, and this is the last restock, I believe. They're not coming out with any more product. To the point, and you were here one day when somebody called me and asked if I had it restocked, and they wanted to buy every single box that I had, and I would not sell it. And they kept chiding me to do so. I just wouldn't sell it because I want to make sure I have enough product for my regular store customers. And getting back to it, I did have 2 people come up to me on Saturday after the event and said, "Hey, John, we really appreciate the way you ran it, and kept it for store players only. And again, I keep telling you that's my obligation as a store owner, and it builds up good rapport with the customers, and it relates to customer service. So that's it with Lorcana. Now, another thing we should get on is Star Wars. Even though a lot of the Lorcana players also play Star Wars, we still had 10 players come in to play Star Wars on Saturday afternoon. Now, what I've decided to do, and I'm going to put it out in the newsletter today, and you don't even know this yet, I'm going to open it up to Sunday and see if I get other people to want to come in, because somebody said, hey, can we play on Sunday? That's fine with me. I have the space. Sure, you want to come in? You can come in. To the point again, if I have people asking about Lorcana again, if they want to do on Sunday, I may have them come in on Sunday. I haven't decided that yet.
I think it's great that we've had such a good turnout. We've got a lot of interest in the game. I know I've talked to several people that have wanted to be able to purchase more, and they understand the limits right now with the supply, but people are really looking forward to a restock in May or June and being able to get some of their hands on this product. And then obviously we're looking towards Set 2 coming out. I think that they are building really well in terms of interest, and there's some social media releases that are building a lot of interest in what's going to be in that set. So I'm pretty excited.
All right, where do we go from here, Noah? What else we want to talk about? Our main topic for today?
Yeah, we can shift over to the main topic. I don't think we had a lot of other updates. Magic's just cruising along at the moment.
Magic is rolling. It's rolling. This new set, even though people complained about the theming, the mechanics of the set are pretty good. And it drew, I think, 16 players for drafting on Friday night. And they were excited about the set. So I think Magic, unless they trip over themselves again and put out some bad sets, I think Magic's on a roll again. And on a second note, the president of Wizards just resigned. Effective the end of this month of April. She's going to be gone. And there's been a lot of speculation about why, primarily because of I don't know all the details, but the D&D fiasco that they had. Well, Noah and I have been friends for a number of years, and we like to tease each other. He's a Carolina fan. I'm a Duke fan. I have my Duke shirt on. He has a sick blue, I don't know what the hell color it is, but it's not Carolina blue. And we'll chide each other every once in a while back and forth on Duke Carolina. There's two things that we will not discuss, at least in public, is religion and politics. I stay away from that, and I think a potential store owner should keep that in mind. You never discuss those two items in the store because you get all kinds of diverse reactions to it. So those are two things we just won't talk about.
Yeah, I think that's a good reminder and a good guiding star to talk about with public conversation anyway. Let's go ahead and make that transition over to our main topic, John. We had an interesting idea for today, talking about and trying to get into some of the little nuts and bolts of the store operation by sort of following a product through the store in terms of how that product gets treated and handled by you, and then bringing in some of the systems and other processes that we haven't been able to talk about yet. So
sure. Well, again, this is just going to be a synopsis of what goes on. In future episodes, we'll go deeper. I've had some people ask me, why did you get into a card shop? What's your background? I'll discuss my background maybe in a future episode to let you know why I'm here, what I'm doing. And I'm sure Noah can, add a little bit about his background too. Naturally, because this is a public forum, we're not going to go into a lot of details about our family because there's crazy people out there and we don't need that aggravation. All right. So what we're going to talk about first is when a product comes in. All right. You've ordered it from a distributor, and the first thing you really need to do is have a point of sale or inventory management system. That's imperative. If you don't, you're flying blind. And that's what I did when we first opened because we didn't have that. It was just, hey, a box of Pokemon came in, you try to determine a price that you were going to charge, and you put it up on the shelf. But there was no inventory management, and it was all by eye. If I had 2 boxes and at the end of the day I had 1 left, then I know I had 36 packs. And now I can keep track of it. And a number of years ago, I got contacted by a company called Crystal Commerce, and they're a company based out of Seattle, Washington. They were one of the first that had an inventory management program. So I signed up for it. I forgot exactly what it was. I think it was $49 a month, and I'm grandfathered into it. And that's exactly what it is right now, I believe. Except for new people that get into it, I think it's $99 a month. And they have a pretty good inventory control system and a point of sale system, which is important. And, of course, they've had their issues along the way, as any startup company would. They've gone down several times in the programming, and they're pretty reliable as far as getting back to fixing it. And I know the owner personally. I've talked to him numerous times. And one of the guys that I deal with all the time, his name is Paul Martin, is fantastic. And one of the sales reps that left the company a couple of years ago, he was a world-class bodybuilder, which I found out after the fact. I still converse with him on Facebook every once in a while, and we've become friends. But I would use Crystal Commerce to start with. I know there's other companies out there. There's Binder. That's a New Zealand-based company, and they're starting to gain some prominence. But again, with any new company, they're going to have some issues too. And there's another company called Ion, ION Suite, and you can use that. However, it's tied to a scanner too, which is a good option. Now, Crystal Commerce doesn't allow scanning of the cards, but that's in their future development plans. You can buy a scanner online. I believe there's a card scanner that they recommend that I saw was $100, which is a nominal cost. And all you do is just scan your card into inventory. And there's all automatic scanners out there now. I know TCG offers those type of things. So that's an option that you can go with. And a lot of stores have proprietary software programs. ABU Games out in, I think it's in Idaho, or the owner's name is Gabriel Wilson. I've talked to him numerous times. Way back when, 12, 15 years ago, he had this program that he was willing to sell me. I think it was $1,200 or $1,500 at the time. Of course, I didn't have it, and that's why I went with Crystal Commerce. But Gabriel uses his own proprietary software. And Star City Games also does their proprietary. Plus, I think Channel Fireball used to integrate with Crystal Commerce. However, they've changed, and now they're linked directly to TCG Player. And I've heard that they're owned by TCG Player. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the word on the street that I got.
So, John, if I was starting a shop and I wanted to try to keep my inventory on just like a spreadsheet, I mean, would that be something that's feasible to do if you're trying to bootstrap your way into success? Or are you saying that you're really going to have a lot more efficiency and be able to make the money you need a lot faster if you've got a formal POS system like Crystal Commerce? Yeah,
I mean, you could do it yourself on a spreadsheet, but that's an abomination to keep up with. You have to be able to have something reliable, even though there's been some glitches in the program. With Crystal Commerce, I have a database. I have a POS system. I have an automatic pricing system because through the database, they have a proprietary number range that they come up with for instance, each card or each product. And if I'm questioning it, I can easily just click a button and look and see what it's selling for on eBay, what it's selling for on Amazon, and on TCG Player. So I would use that. Plus, it runs my POS system. And for $49 a month, I'm sorry, for me, for $49 a month. People that sign up now, it's $99 a month. It's well worth it. And your inventory can go live and you could sell right off your website, which I have set up. And the way I have it set up is if people buy product, they have to spend at least $10. Otherwise, it wouldn't accept the order. And they can pay by PayPal that way. So it automatically goes into my PayPal account. I get notifications that somebody has an order that's been placed and I don't ship anymore. It's just too much of a pain in the neck. People come into the store and they pick up their product, or there's ways for them just to put the order in and not pay for it until they come into the store. I gather the cards, I run an invoice, and then potentially they buy something else, and that's how it works.
All right, so you've got it set up so that you can do online sales, but the fulfillment of all those sales is by in-person pickup. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we're talking back to this idea that this product has come in and you've got it here, and the first thing that you're doing is entering it into inventory.
Yes.
And
no, that's not the first thing. The first thing I do is check the invoice to make sure what they're shipping is correct. A couple of times there's been box of sleeves, weren't there, or something that wasn't there. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen on occasion. So I make sure that whatever I'm getting charged for is what was received. Now, a lot of the times I don't have that product in inventory yet. So I have to do an import through the system and import it into my database. And sometimes it works well. Sometimes it's not even there yet. Crystal Commerce may have been a little slow in getting it in. So there's ways for me to manually import, like add a new product to a specific genre, for instance. And I could grab a picture off the internet and slide the picture in there and do my pricing from that point on. And getting back to pricing is important because everybody comes in and they say, well, your card is $12, and on TCG Player it's $11.50. I could care less. They see the card here, they know what they're getting, and it's important to be aware what all the other stores around you are doing. Now, I mentioned before, I'm not the smartest person in the world by any stretch of the imagination. However, I am aware of my surroundings. So I check the other stores. Usually they put their product up right away. And I'll say, ooh, they're charging $140 or $154.95 for a box of this. Well, I'm going to price it at $149.99. And that's what I do for my price. And then I check online price, and I check Star City Games, and I'll check eBay to see what it's going for.
Let's talk some more about the product. So is there a difference on how you treat singles inventory coming into the store versus sealed product?
As far as the pricing? No, it's like I'll have a buy list. That's my singles, the way I get singles. If somebody comes in and they have a bunch of cards they want to sell, if I don't know the person, and I've had some characters come in that have stolen from other stores or stolen from other people, or there's fake cards, what I do is I don't issue cash. I just issue store credit. So they're compelled to use that store credit in the store. Like, for instance, if you come in and say, hey, John, you want to buy these cards? I'll put them into the buy list, and I'll come up with a number. And then as soon as I grade them, usually I don't take anything that's not mint or near mint. And as soon as I hit the button, it goes directly into my inventory of single cards, providing those cards are already in inventory. So I may have to do some import before I do that. But as far as products concerned, as soon as new products come in, I try to stay on top of it to make sure that it's imported into the database. So when it comes in, all I have to do is put the SKU code in there. A lot of times Crystal Commerce will put the SKU code in, but in the event that they don't, I'll put the SKU code in there, and we go from there.
Okay, so product comes in, we've inventoried it, we've added to the POS system, and we're putting it up on the shelf. What's the length of time that most products are staying on the shelf? We got new stuff in 4 or 5 different games right now. Are you expecting to go through all the product that comes in on a weekly basis, or what is your anticipation?
No. You can't expect that. The only thing that really happened recently was Fallout, Commander Fallout. That sold that Friday night that was available for sale. I had 8 boxes of collector boosters, and they all sold that Saturday night. I should have kept box aside because right now those individual packs are selling for in excess of $50 a pack. But yeah, it's gone crazy. And people ask all the time, do you have any Fallout? Do you have any hidden or anything? No, I don't hide stuff for the most part. I have an excess right now of Lorcana, which is good. I'm going to wind up selling it all, I'm sure. So to get back to your question, no, it doesn't turn over that quickly. You have to have the resources to keep it in stock. Ergo, the new Yu-Gi-Oh set. I still have boxes from the previous set. The new set comes out this Wednesday that I'm allowed to sell it as an OTS store. I have some of that on the shelf, because we didn't have as good a pre-release or premiere as I thought it would be. And the reason being is Konami had their YCS in Raleigh this weekend. So it took a lot of the individuals that usually would come into the store and participate. They went to Raleigh and they participated there.
So is there a restriction at all about what you can and can't sell online?
For instance, Lorcana. I can sell online through my website. I could sell individual cards through a third party, but I cannot sell sealed product through a third party. But I could sell on my website. I could sell individual cards and sealed product. And it just varies from what the manufacturer wants you to do.
Understood. Well, let's talk about the point when you've got a customer in at the counter. In your shop, you've got the counter. People can take a look at the sealed packs on the wall, pull a couple of packs, put them up for you to check them out. What's the process in terms of taking something out of inventory as it gets purchased?
It's automatic through the POS system. As soon as you click the order, like say somebody has 10 cards, and as soon as they pay it, I click on it, it automatically deducts it from my inventory. And it's the same thing with sealed product. Everything comes out automatically. And that's why it's a necessity to have a good POS system that you can rely on. Now, again, Crystal Commerce has gone down several times, and I guess they're redoing some of their programming, and it's for the better because it's running much better now, more efficient.
Oh, very good. So you get those things sold automatically. So you've got a barcode scanner. it reads it, puts it into the computer, and takes it out of inventory.
Right.
And then I guess it just goes away until somebody decides they want to sell it back to you, huh?
Yep, that's exactly it.
All right. Well, what other thoughts do you have that you think are important for people to talk about in terms of ancillary costs or things that they might need to know in terms of managing that product life cycle?
Well, getting back to the whole cycle of it, you have to have a credit card machine. Most people pay by debit card or credit card now. Very, very little cash is transpired right now. People would rather do their debit card or their whatever. And I just had an unexpected cost. You don't even know this. Before you came in today, I keep getting these messages from the credit card company on the computer that an update is needed on the credit card machine. So they did a couple of updates and they finally said to me, we can't update it anymore. It's beyond its life cycle. We don't support it anymore. So the unit that I had, I guess it was an FD 130 machine with a pin pad, FD being First Data. And I just called up the local sales rep that I had dealt with many years ago. She wasn't there anymore, but I got a nice guy on the phone and he hooked me up with the new machine. It's called an FD 150, which he started laughing. He said, you need a new pin pad too. I said, of course. He's a little smaller. And I said, well, what about the holder that the pin pad that I bought with to hold that one? He said, well, you might be able to jury rig it, but let me see if I can find one that you can buy. So to make a long story short, it was an unexpected cost, and it's going to cost me $655. They're sending me an invoice today. As soon as I pay the online invoice, they'll ship it out, and it'll probably come in tomorrow. And the only good thing about it is it'll be all programmed again for me, for the business, and all I have to do is take the existing cords, unplug them, and plug them into the new machine, and it's done. So I don't have to crawl underneath the counters, which I'm not going to do anymore anyway. Get somebody else to do it for me.
Well, at least that's fair, I guess. I mean, that's the type of thing, though, that you have to be aware of as a small business owner, is that there are things that come up and that you can't really just run on what we would call like paycheck to paycheck on a household. You've got to have...
There's always unexpected costs. There's always a problem. A table breaks, a chair breaks. You need the air conditioner fixed. If that's in your lease that they fix it, fine. If not, you're responsible for that kind of stuff. The fire inspector came the other day. I wasn't here, and he left a note, and I think it's a $35 charge for them to come in and inspect it. Always little cost here and there. Everybody wants their hands in your pockets.
All right. Well, any other thoughts before we jump on to our 3E section for this week's podcast?
No, we're good to go.
All right. Well, let's take it over and talk about the 3Es. Again, we have educate, enlighten, and entertain. And while we do think that we're entertaining in the general body of the podcast, we might add a little bit of flavor here, and then also some extra information that might not be directly about a card shop that could educate you or enlighten you in a different way.
I was reading something the other day, and there was an increase of 16.4% for admission to sporting events. And the article says growing demand and higher athlete salaries contribute to higher prices, says Wall Street Journal sports writer Jason Gay. But the main driver, he says, is profit seeking by team owners and resellers who buy blocks of tickets. This is absolutely this sort of mercenary what the market will bear idea out there, that we're going to raise prices until the point that people don't buy them. That's true.
Well, I think that's the way markets work.
It's manipulating the system, basically.
Well, but isn't it just determining the threshold on the market? I mean, this was college-level economics, but they said at that when we went through college econ or econ 101, that you've got your supply and demand, and the price is where those two things meet. And you raise prices until people show you they're not going to pay for them.
Yeah, and I think that's going to start happening because it's entirely too expensive to go to any sporting event now. I'd rather watch it on TV anyway because the coverage is better. I could sit my ass down in the recliner and, kick back and do what I need to do. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a big deal. I think one of the things you just said, though, is a huge component of live sporting events, and that's the experience. So if you want the crowd mentality and the excitement, energy of the room, maybe you're buying tickets and going into the building. Maybe you want to eat the food, but it's usually expensive, and so you're adding that cost as well. But if you're looking for consuming the sport or the entertainment of the match, television production has gotten so good, you can do it from home for free, basically.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it right at the beginning of your little talk just a second ago. You're paying for the experience, and a lot of people don't understand that. When they come into a store like this to play, they're paying for an important experience. Sometimes people expect things for nothing, but nothing, there's nothing in life that's free anymore. And you're paying for that experience, and people have to understand that mentality.
Well, and I think that's an important concept in the gaming space. The experiences that you have value, and you do convey value for the opportunity to do it together in a store space. Maybe another thing we'll talk about in the future is the impact of the internet on this stuff, because online play and broadcasting these large events, I think, is going to be a big deal for the success of some of the new games that are coming out. And I think it's going to have a big impact on the way Magic continues to broadcast and share their events too.
True. I agree. Let's talk about a couple of characters that have come into the store over the years.
Who'd you bring for us today, John?
Did I ever mention, I don't know if I remember mentioning about the Preacher Man that came in one time. My original store, when I first opened, I had Magic posters all over the place. And I had this guy come in, and you ever see the cartoons with, the specific Preacher Man with the, not the bow tie, but the string tie deal and a waistcoat, short waistcoat. Well, he came in, he was dressed all in black, and he had a notebook with him, and I think he had a Bible with him. And he came in, and he was starting to look at all the posters. And he said, "This is blasphemy." I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he said, "You shouldn't have these posters on it. That's a cult." I said, "It's Magic the Gathering. It's not a cult." And he said, "Oh, yes, it is." He said, "And you shouldn't show this to our youth and, all this other." I said, "Look, do me a favor, buddy. Get the hell out." And he kind of looked at me, again, and then I was a little bit more forceful and asked him to go out. And he finally left. But yeah, that was one of the characters that came into the store. Another one, it was kind of funny because I was thinking of him a while ago. His name is Steven. And I can remember 12 or 14 years ago, Steven used to come into the store. And he was a strange little boy. And the way he looked like Jack Nicholson with The Shining with those eyes. And I don't know, he wasn't any trouble, but he was awkward. And eventually he grew up, he stopped playing. He got married, he just recently got married. But I saw his mother a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "How's Steven doing?" And she said, "Oh, he's doing okay. He just got married." She said, "Can you believe he got married?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I know he was trouble." I said, "No, he wasn't trouble. He was just a little strange sometimes." But it was funny because she said, "Well, he's coming into town in 2 weeks." I said, "Well, mention to him I'd like to see him if he came in." So lo and behold, Friday afternoon, about 2:00, I see this knocking at the door. And as soon as I saw him, I recognized who it was. And we spent a good half hour talking. And, he had spent 8 years in Japan as a teacher. He's teaching English, and he met this girl online, and it's the love of his life, and they decided to get married just recently back in December. He lives up in Michigan now, and he teaches up there, and she's some kind of a biochemical engineer or some sort of like that. I guess, with his intellect level being high, they fit well. And I said, "Remember the day," and this is how I remember him. I said, "Back at the old store when you first got your license." And he just looked at me kind of bewildered. I said, "Do you remember when you came in and you jumped the parking block out there and ran into the pole in the front of my old building, to the point where if you had gone a little further, the roof on the porch would have collapsed on you?" And he looked at me kind of sheepishly. He said, "Yeah, I remember that." He said, "But my foot slipped off the brake." I said, "You were a new driver." And I said, "You denied everything when you came in the store." I said, "Look at the damn post. It's pushed off the center by about 1.5 feet. And he said, "Yeah, I remember that." But it was nice kind of reminiscing with him for a while.
Well, that's good. I think, again, it's a repeat theme. The store builds community and relationships, and they last a long time. They're not just something that comes and goes over the period of a short time, and it's glad to hear that there's customers that have been part of the store before and are able to come back and be part of the store again, even as they make progress through their lives and hit these milestones, that the store still means something to them, and your friendship means something to them.
It's important. And I have the ability to remember names and faces pretty good. I've mentioned this many times. I can't remember what I eat for breakfast half the time, but I do remember faces, and I do remember most of the names that come in because I've dealt with them over the years. And it gives that sense of camaraderie, gives a person a feeling of worth as far as when you come in, you recognize their name. And it's important. You have to have those kind of customer service or people skills. That's really what counts, is people skills. And as we get into my background a little bit more, you'll understand where I developed my people skills. At one time, I had 300 women working for me. And if you don't develop people skills from having 300 women working for you, you never will. Because either you do or you die. They'll get you.
All right, John. Well, I think that brings us to a good spot to wrap it up for today. If you guys have enjoyed this podcast and you enjoy listening to us talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff in the Card Shop Insider, it'd be really helpful if you would subscribe to our podcast on any and all of the platforms that are available. We also do have basic tier Patreon available if you want to give us some support that way. I think we're going to look at having on that first tier an option to have stickers or other sort of product that we could send out to people that subscribe to that tier. And then always follow us on social media. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you with us next week.
Thanks. I appreciate you.